Good morning. It's Tuesday, January the 22nd, and this is The Drill. And thank you very much, and I hope everybody had a nice long weekend. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States of America today, because I'm the only one that makes the presumption for the status quo. When the waters were changed. Once upon a time, the teacher of Moses called upon mankind with a warning. At a certain date, he said, all the water in the world which had not been specially hoarded would disappear. It would then be renewed with different water, which would drive men mad. Only one man listened to the meaning of this advice. He collected water and went to a secure place where he stored it and waited for the water to change its character. On the appointed date, the stream stopped running, the wells went dry, and the man who had listened, seeing this happening, went to his retreat and drank his preserved water. When he saw from his security the waterfalls again beginning to flow, this man descended among the other sons of men. He found that they were thinking and talking in an entirely different way from before, yet they had no memory of what had happened, nor of having been warned. When he tried to talk to them, he realized that they thought he was mad, and they showed hostility or compassion, not understanding. At first he drank none of the new water, but went back to his concealment to draw on his supplies every day. Finally, however, he took the decision to drink the new water because he could not bear the loneliness of living, behaving, and thinking in a different way from everyone else. He drank the new water and became like the rest. Then he forgot all about his own store of special water, and his fellows began to look upon him as a madman who had miraculously been restored to sanity. And this illustrates perfectly the struggle that's going on in our country today. It's a struggle not of politics or sociology or even psychology, but it is of psychology, of sanity. It's an issue of sanity, where you have the left, which is changing things and trying to pretend it's normal. If you come along and say, whether it's transgenderism, for instance, and the left tries to pretend, well, that's just perfectly normal for people to pretend that they are of a different gender and to want to use a restroom of the other gender and things of that nature. That's perfectly normal, perfectly acceptable. And it isn't. It's statistically unusual, if nothing else. But the idea is then to make you think that you're cuckoo, that there's something wrong with you, and also to make you think you're in the minority, that everybody else on the planet thinks the way they do, and that you're the only person on earth who thinks the way you do. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Don't drink the water. So when I come, my monologue for today. So I'm at a restaurant with an acquaintance of mine, and he happens to look over his shoulder. He says, that's a pretty cool sentiment, isn't it? And I don't know what he's talking about. I look over his shoulder, and I see a sign that reads, expect nothing, appreciate everything. And I said, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? And he goes, that. And he points to the sign. I said, what? And he goes over and points to the sign again, this right here. I said, I still don't know what you're talking about. And he gives me a dirty look and then kind of shakes his head and sits back down. Now, the whole thing of the conversation here is, again, one of intimidation. Mr. Lefty, my acquaintance, wanted me to acknowledge that this was a nice sentiment. But if you really think about what is being said there, it's kind of Zen, really. It's, again, an Eastern philosophy kind of thing going on, and it's kind of Zen-esque in that it says, expect nothing and appreciate everything. Now, if I'm going to expect nothing, what does that mean exactly? And appreciate everything, what does that mean exactly? And I'm in a restaurant. I think it's a very interesting thing for the restaurant to put up, and I assume it was put up by the restaurant. It's a little sign. So if I expect nothing, I shouldn't expect good service. I shouldn't expect basic hygiene from the employees. I shouldn't expect the quality of the food to be good. Appreciate everything. Appreciate what? Should I appreciate getting food poisoning? Should I appreciate poor service, poor food? See? So on the surface, this statement seems kind of poetic. But when you think about it, you realize it's garbage. And that's what this guy was trying to do, is trying to sell me on this idea. He was banking on the fact that I didn't want to argue about it. And as a matter of fact, I didn't argue about it. Again, a conservative, I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to argue. It's not up to me. If you want to come to me as a lefty and you say, isn't that a lovely sentiment? Isn't that a great idea? Prove it. I'll listen. And that's all he had to do. All he had to do was explain to me what this sentiment meant and back it up, and I probably would have gone ahead at that point and agreed with him. But I'm not going to agree with an arbitrary statement, gee, isn't that a nice sentiment, about an arbitrary statement. Expect nothing and appreciate everything. When I come back, I'm going to be reading from Ayn Rand's lexicon, and then we're going to go back and finish up the last of the 30 covert emotional manipulation techniques. Thank you very much. The Ayn Rand lexicon, and the concept of the day is enlightenment, age of. The development of Aquinas through Locke and Newton, or Aquinas, either way, through Locke and Newton represents more than 400 years of stumbling, tortuous, prodigious efforts to secularize the Western mind, i.e. to liberate man from the medieval shackles. It was the build-up toward a climax, the 18th century, the age of enlightenment. For the first time in modern history, an authentic respect for reason became the mark of an entire culture. The trend that had been implicit in the centuries-long crusade of a handful of innovators now swept the West explicitly, reaching and inspiring educated men in every field. Reason, for so long the wave of the future, had become the animating force of the present. Confidence in the power of man replaced dependence on the grace of God, and that rare intellectual orientation emerged. The key to the Enlightenment approach in every branch of philosophy, secularism without skepticism. In metaphysics, this meant a fundamental change in emphasis from God to this world, the world of particulars in which men live, the realm of nature. Men's operative conviction was that nature is an autonomous realm, solid, eternal, real in its own right. For centuries, nature had been regarded as a realm of miracles manipulated by a personal deity, a realm whose significance lay in the clues it offered to the purposes of its author. Now the operative conviction was that nature is a realm governed by scientific laws which permit no miracles and which are intelligible without reference to the supernatural. Just as there are no limits to man's knowledge, many Enlightenment-era thinkers held, so there are no limits to men's moral improvement. If man is not yet perfect, they held, he is at least perfectible. Just as there are objective natural laws in science, so there are objective natural laws in ethics, and man is capable of discovering such laws and of acting in accordance with them. He is capable not only of developing his intellect, but also of living by its guidance. This, at least, was the Enlightenment's ethical program and promise. Whatever the vacillations or doubts of particular thinkers, the dominant trend represented a new vision and estimate of man. Man as a self-sufficient, rational being, and therefore as basically good, as potentially noble, as of value. The father of this new world was a single philosopher, Aristotle. On countless issues, Aristotle's views differ from those of the Enlightenment. But in terms of broad fundamentals, the philosophy of Aristotle is the philosophy of the Enlightenment. In epistemology, the European champions of the intellect have been unable to formulate a tenable view of the nature of reason, or, therefore, to validate their proclaimed confidence in its power. As a result, from the beginning of the 18th century, and even earlier, the philosophy advocating reason was in the process of gradual but accelerating disintegration. And that's the concept of the day from Ayn Rand's lexicon. And when I come back, I'm going to be finishing up the 30 covert emotional manipulation techniques. Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay, that one. Let's see what else we've got. Okay, that one. Let me see about this. Okay, so it's actually down to the last two. Number 29, number 30. Number 29 is love bombing. Yours is the light by which my spirit's born. You are my sun, my moon, and all my stars. From a poem by E. Cummings. Love bombing is a special form of flattery that deserves its own category. Manipulators employ love bombing to ensnare a target. It is a veritable campaign of flattery that bombs the target with nonstop positive reinforcement that includes compliments, praise and appreciation, declarations of once-in-a-lifetime love, spending as much time as possible with them, frequent calls, texts, and emails, gift-giving, fantastic love-making, and engaging in many fun and romantic activities. It can and does happen strictly online as well. What greater flattery could there possibly be than having someone who believes you're the most wonderful person they've ever known, someone who truly appreciates you and believes you are worthy of their time, attention, energy, and heart? The victim is swept off their feet straight into a relationship that will turn into the worst experience of their life. A clue that you're being manipulated with love bombing is the rapid pace set by the manipulator. It leaves you without time to come up for air and think clearly and carefully about who this person really is and what their motivations are. When someone declares undying love for you before they really know you, chances are good that their feelings are superficial and that they'll fall out of love with you just as quickly. That doesn't mean they'll move on, though. It means they'll stick around long enough to devalue you slowly and methodically for many months or even years and cause you to devalue yourself in the process. Your best defense is a slow pace of any relationship that begins with such idealization and intensity. Easier said than done when you believe you've met your soulmate. Keep it in mind anyway. Remember, it takes time to get to know someone's true character. Some people are very different than who they first appear to be. We all believe we're good judges of character, but in truth, we're not. There is no shortcut. It takes time and observation. Take plenty of time, at least a year, preferably more, to observe a potential partner in a variety of situations. Judge them by their actions, never by their words. Maintain your goals, boundaries, activities, interests, and relationships. If the person really loves you, they won't go anywhere. Many spiritual traditions recognize that when the Dark One appears, he is most beautiful, most wonderful, and most engaging. The truth only comes out later. Quote from an unknown individual. Number 30, trance and hypnosis. Skilled manipulators can harness the power of trance and hypnosis to gain power and control. Hypnosis is simply a controlled trance. A trance is an altered mental state we enter as a common and normal occurrence, which is what makes it so easy for a skilled manipulator to induce. When in a trance state, you're extremely relaxed and your attention is hyper-focused on a person or activity. If you've ever been so thoroughly absorbed in something that you are oblivious to distractions and to the passage of time, which is known as a flow state, you've been in a trance. We can slip into a trance from anything with a repetitive element of movement: vision, sound, thoughts, or touch. Flickering candlelight, dance, sex, massage, video games, long drives, meditation, music, and the sound of someone's voice are all capable of inducing trance. A trance is highly pleasing to both the conscious and subconscious mind. We can also go into trance when our attention becomes narrowly focused on another person whose attention is focused narrowly on us. Psychopaths naturally focus intensely on their targets, just as a predator focuses intensely on its prey. They are very present when they're interested in someone, and that intense presence, communicated through unwavering eye contact and focused, heightened attention, can induce a similar reaction in the person who is the object of their focus. This is not done purposely, it's simply an effect of their natural way of being. Many people say the psychopathic stare causes chills and feelings of aversion. If a stranger looks at you that way in a grocery store, that might be true. But if someone you're interested in or attracted to does it, then it will come across as flattering interest and attention. You will likely feel captivating. A psychopath or other skilled manipulator may also induce trance or hypnosis purposefully in order to take advantage of a victim. They may create a trancifying atmosphere with music and candlelight, speak in a slow, soothing tone of voice, or engage the victim in an activity known to induce a trance state. Why would a manipulator do this? Trance and hypnosis lower our psychological defenses and leave us vulnerable to suggestion. Hypnotizing someone without their consent is considered unethical for this reason. Increased suggestiveness will make it more likely that a victim will believe statements a manipulator makes during a trance state, and that the beliefs will persist afterward. They will also have a stronger desire to repeat activities they participated in because of the heightened sense of pleasure experienced during trance. A person or activity enjoyed during trance acts as an especially persistent and powerful draw to return to the person and repeat the activity. So that concludes the 30 covert emotional manipulation techniques itself. And we're going to be next time going into Chapter 4. I refuse to have this discussion, and it's all about invalidation. And this is where he starts getting into how to deal with manipulators. And I'm reading this book because these are the same tools and techniques that are used by people on the left. You've heard from reading, when I read Tammy Bruce's book, The Death of Right and Wrong, that the left has basically turned into a bunch of narcissists, deliberate narcissists, and that the left encourages this. The left tells the individual, there's nothing wrong with you. Everything you do is fine, is perfect, just the way it is. That if there is any problem in this world, it is society or the world itself. And so if there's a conflict between you and someone else, it is the other person's problem, it is society's problem, and it is society that has to change, while you get to remain pretty much the same. And that's basically what a narcissist does. He looks to manipulate people so that he or she does not have to grow, make any changes. They get to remain the same while asking those around them to do all the changing and growing. So again, when we come back to this book, it will be Chapter 4. I refuse to have this discussion all about invalidation. But at this point, it brings us to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill. And until next time, thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.